For Germany's ally, Italy, Britain's troublemaking was already far more than just a promise. By decisive encounters like Taranto and Matapan, the Royal Navy had forced Il Duce's fleet to stay in port, and all that remained to him was retaliation with his air force. But try as he might, the Italian dictator could not prevent Britain from reinforcing her hard-pressed but stinging wasp nest of Malta. Though ceaselessly bombed and battered, Malta, like Britain, was an unsinkable aircraft carrier, one which only invasion could subdue. And as for Mussolini's Libya, well, the less said about that, the better. In a matter of only weeks, light British and Commonwealth forces had routed the huge army assembled by Graziani to conquer Egypt. For Il Duce, the greatest embarrassment of his career. Disaster in Libya, retreat in Greece, rout in Abyssinia. The most senior of dictators was forced to go cap in hand to the newest upstart to plead assistance in Greece. For, as Il Duce pointed out, only with a secure Balkan flank could Hitler embark confidently upon Barbarossa. Il Duce's plea, together with an uncooperative Yugoslavia, set the panzers rolling into the Balkans, sidetracked from their proper destination, the jumping-off place for Barbarossa. In Greece, the Germans, for the first time since France, again met with the British. But the British force that had disembarked at Athens could only be a token offering to aid the Greeks. Hardly spared from the western desert, it was puny in strength. Yet forward they went to defend the land that had first known democracy. Forward they went through the classic hills of Greece to meet once again the power of Nazi Germany. And so was deployed once again the combination that had already won for Germany 3 parts of Europe: the tank, the mobile gun, the Stuka. For the British, once again, the old story of retreat. Retreat to the sea that had always been their ally. For the Nazis, lightning victory yet again, at little cost except to their foes and the peoples of the land they were invading. On to the sea at Salonika, on to the Acropolis beside the blue waters of the Aegean, on to Crete. But even as Goering's paratroopers dropped from the sky to subdue Crete and complete the victory, Hitler turned back impatiently to the real apple of his eye, the long-awaited Operation Barbarossa. Barbarossa, that was to bring him all the wheat he wanted from the wind-blown steppes of the Ukraine, so that Fortress Europa need never again go short. The operation that was to bring him the output of the vast oil fields of Baku and the Caucasus, so that Germany's tanks and planes and ships need never again go dry. Operation Barbarossa, that was to bring him the whole industrial potential and vast manpower of the Soviet Union. Already over 100 divisions waited along the frontier of divided Poland, ready to pounce at the Führer's bidding. Already, the 24 divisions diverted to conquer Greece and Yugoslavia were moving back to take up their proper stations for the attack on Russia. It was this deployment that came to the notice of British intelligence and spurred Winston Churchill to warn the Soviet government that a German attack was imminent. But Moscow, with supreme optimism, continued to have faith in its non-aggression pact with Hitler. Foreign Minister Molotov refused even to acknowledge the warnings of the British ambassador. The Soviet Union, said Marshal Stalin, intends to remain at peace. The war was an imperial capitalist war, and no business of the USSR. So he thought. June the 2nd, 1941. Operation Barbarossa. And in all its history, the world had never known such an onslaught. Along the thinly held Russian frontier line, hard-pressed officers passed on the news to an unbelieving command. The bewildering news that overnight, an alleged friend had turned into a ruthless killer. From the very start, the Red soldiers fought back courageously. But with their foes lay the heavy advantage of surprise. Against flamethrowers, against the best trained and most experienced fighting force in the world, this first resistance could be but short-lived. The Red Air Force was caught unprepared and helpless on the ground. In a few hours, Stalin had lost the better part of his frontline air power. Then, from the Gulf of Finland to Romania, from the Baltic to the Black Sea, began the great forward sweep. Thus was the greatest war machine in history set rolling along the road that once Napoleon had trod. Barbarossa, the march through flame to destiny, along the path to final domination of Europe, Asia, and who knows, perhaps the world.